Hello and welcome to vlog number 50. This week has been a bit of a different week for me. I'm stood in room 13, which I've just in the process of completely redoing, emptying and putting it back together again, and that's taken some of my hobby time today. Also, Angela and Rosie have had to go away for a couple of weeks and they left today, so this week has been not so much hobbying, and I've been trying to make a little bit of time for them, and now obviously they're gone and I miss them, so I can't wait for them to come back. But I will be taking advantage and making the most of the next couple of weeks and trying to get quite a lot done. So hopefully I'll be able to get the lake build finished, which I did make a little bit of progress on this week. It's been a really tired week, and so I've been limiting myself a bit as well, not just the fact that they're going away, but also I've been pretty much exhausted. It's been non-stop at work. And that is how life is sometimes. And if it happens, it happens. You just crack on and do what hobbying you can. So I hope that you've had a good hobby week, and I hope that you enjoy this video, and I will see you again at the end. It's taken a few coats, but we've got there. I'm happy with that now. So what I'm now going to do is I'm going to come in with the olive green and I'm going to put some camouflage on it. And I am going to do 3 colours of camouflage on this. So I'm going to have the base and I am going to do the others. So I'll get that done. I will probably not run the camera. I will show you what it looks like when it's finished, but I did just want to show you that I am happy with that now, and yeah, it's got a little bit of the red showing through, which I don't mind, and I'll come along and do something different on the wheels. I'll probably do a slightly darker colour on the wheels. So yes, I will get that done and I'll bring you along to show you what it looks like when it is finished. The next bit is to do the explosion, which is going to sit here obviously and pop out the top of the tank. So what I've got is I've got some hollow fill fibres that I pulled out of an old pillow, and I'm going to hot glue them to the wire. But what I thought I'd quickly do, just show you, it's a bit bright here because I've got all my lights, but it really does work very well. You can't see. Let me start the whole thing again. I won't bother showing that until it's dark. Cut. So the next step is to do the explosion, which is going to sit coming out the top of the tank. So I've got some hollow fill fibres here that I've pulled out of an old pillow, and I'm just going to hot glue them to the wires. So I'll get that done, not on camera because I struggle with hot glue, but yes, and I'll bring you back to show you what it looks like when that's done. You can see that the first stage of the camouflage has been painted. I'll put another couple of coats on that when it's dry in a minute or two, so I just thought I'd get this done while I was waiting. One good thing with hot glue is it dries very fast. So that's done. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to spray paint this with black and grey and all sorts of other colours. There we are, one explosion marker. So now I'm doing my best to finish this project, the brewed up tiger tank. So the first thing that I need to do is get the tracks primed and painted ready for attaching. So I have some track primer from Panzer Aces, which I'm going to shake up now. I'm going to paint that on these tracks. These tracks were primed quite a little while ago, and they've just sat on this bit of probably literally for months. So I just primed it with a grey spray primer. So what we'll do is we'll just get this track primer and paint it on. It should dry quite quickly, and then I'll come along and grime them up. Probably grime them up after they've actually been glued onto the model. So let's do this quickly. I would really like to get this finished tonight, so we're going to rush on with this project. It is a brewed up tank, so it doesn't need to be perfect, but I do want it to look quite nice. I don't want it to look rubbish, obviously. I do like my modelling. So yeah, so I'll get these painted, and once I'm ready to do the next step, I'll turn the camera back on, and I'll let you know if there's anything I do that I don't film. Then probably I'll film it all, because hey, I like sharing this stuff with you. So here you have it, my rough sketch. The concept is it's 10 centimetres by 10 centimetres, so I'll have a square. And what I'll have is a river coming in from one corner, or just the far side of the edge, coming over with some falls coming down. It will be kind of a curved bank, which is what happens when waterfall, it eats back and it leaves wings on either side. There will be a tree here and a tree on this side, and the tightrope will be going across between the trees, and then somewhere along there will be the little figure that will be doing the crossing. And then at the bottom of the falls there'll be a lot of fog and what have you from the falls. At the bottom will be a bit of a lake, and then a stream will carry on out the corner. So that's the idea. I have some materials, so I will just show you what I've got, tell you what I'm going to do next, and then yeah, I'm really excited to get making. Okay, so here we are. What we have is we have a 10 centimeter thick block of polystyrene. We have some DAS clay. We have a single wire, which is what's going to be my tightrope, and also probably I'm going to sculpt around some wire like that for the tightrope walker. I'll probably use green stuff in the end to do that. I've got some DAS clay, which is going to be used to make the trees and also fill in some of the landscape, and obviously I will also use some of Luke's modelling compound, which is so awesome. And I've got some keys, because what he does is when he gives out the idea, when he gives out the suggestion, you have to take a picture of what you're going to use with a random household item which he suggests, to prove that you've not made it before, which I think is quite a cool, simple idea. And yeah, it's always nice to be on a level playing field. Now, I'm doing this because I think it's a cool idea. Don't really care about winning or not. It'll be great if I do, because obviously it's always nice to win. But bottom line, this is going to be a fun little build. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get hold of my Proxon, and I'm going to cut my foam into a 10 by 10 square. I'm kind of umming and ahhing a little bit about how I'm going to do it, but my first idea, whether it works or not, this is 10 centimeters thick, as I say, is to cut 10 centimeters up here all the way across, and that then can be trimmed down to the height of however high I actually want to have this falls. And I'm thinking quite high, because I'm thinking of that force perspective, which will then, when it will sit on my model railway, it will look really, really awesome. So I'm going to trim that to a 10 centimeter depth this way. So it'll be 10 centimeters this way already, so it'll be about this high. And then I'm going to get my other hot wire tool and attempt to carve out the actual shape of the falls. So yeah, I'll bring you along for that second bit. I'll just get myself prepared, and then yeah, I'll bring you along for the second carving, but not the Proxon. You've seen that done 100 times. Here we have a 10 by 10 block, and here we have my Hot Wire Foam Factory hot wire cutter. And it's on, and we're going to just see what happens. I have lots of this foam, so it's okay, but what I'm going to start to do is I'm just going to draw down, and we're going to go for the whole height, so I can always trim it down once I've done this. So let's see what happens. Anyway, I think that is going to work. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to carve away at that. I won't run the camera because I'm struggling a bit to keep it in shot, and I'll bring you back and show what it looks like. But I'm basically just going to keep doing that, carving it away, and then when I'm happy with the shape I've got, then I'll stop carving. Right then, transfers. So these came with the kit, and I am going to make use of them. I'm doing the Normandy 1944 obviously rather than the North Africa. As you can see, I've put the Normandy camouflage style on, and so that's going to be these red ones here, I believe, and these two rather than this. Now I don't have the instructions anymore, so I might get this wrong, but if I do, then I do. So I'm going to do just one or two of these on camera and then do most of them off, because it is repetitive. But first of all, what you do is you take a very sharp knife and you cut out the transfers that you want from the sheet. You don't dunk the whole sheet, because you may not want to put all the transfers on at once. So it's quite important to remember to separate the ones that you're interested in before you put them in the water. And that is the step after this one. Pop them in some warm water and just make sure they actually dunk. Okay, there we are. So that can then set there. The next thing is I actually have micro set and micro sol, and I would so highly recommend that you get yourself some of this if you don't have it. And if you're not confident at putting on transfers, then this will really revolutionize your life, because yeah, it makes it so much easier. So the first thing that you do with this, very, very carefully, I don't have actually, you know what, that'll probably be better than nothing, so don't knock it over, there we are, is you get yourself your brush. If I can find one, just one second. Okay, so you get yourself your brush, and you very carefully brush that on where you're going to put the transfer. Now this first transfer is just going to go on the side here. So you brush on your micro set first, okay? And when you've got your micro set on, then you lift your transfer, which should now, there it is, should now have separated, which it has. And you pick it up very carefully with your tweezers, better than I'm doing here. There we are. So you get that with your tweezers. And then what you do is you very carefully transfer that over to the surface. Now because you've got the micro set on there, it's a little easier than if you didn't have it, trust me. So you just transfer that over, that's why they call it a transfer, and drop it in place. And now you can move that a little bit if you wish, you can slide it around and get it lined up. So now that's in place, I'm relatively happy with the way that is. What you then do is you brush the micro sole on to the decal, and then that means that it will then set. So we'll get a second brush under here, and we'll not mix them, and we put the micro sole on over the top of the micro set, which sounds a bit backwards, doesn't it? You'd have thought that the set would be what you put on afterwards, but no, it's not. It's what you put on. You put the micro set on first and then the micro sole on. So once you're happy, just be very careful at this stage because you don't want to move it. And this then will stop the transfer from what they call in these sorts of things from silvering. And if you're trying to go over an uneven surface, then micro set, keep applying that to smooth it over and over. And that's that, simple as that. So I'm going to do that for the rest of these transfers, and I'll bring you along to show you what it looks like when it's done. We're very, very nearly done on this build now, which is really, really cool. Next step is to glue the turret to the flame cloud, or the smoke cloud. And I'm going to do that quite simply by going inside with the hot glue gun in here. If I can get that in shot, there we are. Put a load of hot glue in, if it would work. There we are. This really is a cheap old hot glue gun. I'm going to need to get a new one, I think. So I'll just put a load of hot glue in and then stick it to the foam. Like that. There we are. That'll do. Cool. Right, so I'll let that dry, and then the final thing is to put the tracks on, and then we're done. Fortunately, these tank tracks are quite simple, and I've said it now, so now I'll screw it up and make it look really, really hard. But basically what you do is you've pushed them in around the wheels, as you can see I've done there. You put some super glue on one of the ends, which is just out of shot at the moment, apologies. It's just some super glue there. Then you wrap that round, and because I don't really, it's probably going to sit on a base of this anyway, you wrap it round and then join it together like that. And then if you've got some super glue activator, now is a good time to use it, but mine is upstairs because I'm stupid. So now I'll hold that and hope that it goes off. And that's as simple as it is. So I'm going to do that for both of those tracks, both sides, and then this build is pretty much done. I may end up giving up and going up and getting some super glue activator and doing that again. But it's basically what you see there. So yeah, I think we're done. And here we have it in the dark, glowing away. It's the best way that I can get to film it, as it's not very visible with the lights on. But you can see just how effective that little LED is. And if I now go and turn the lights on, there you are. You can still see the flickering, but not all that well, but I'm very, very pleased with how that's turned out. That's going to look absolutely brilliant on the table. I have another Tiger which is painted very similarly but not blown up, so this will be used for chain of command, but it could be used for bolt action or anything else, and I will bring both to the table, and then if my other Tiger gets killed, then I can put this on the table and it'll act as a marker, which is pretty awesome, and that's worked out pretty much how I imagined it. So yeah, there we are. We have a brewed up Tiger tank. Finished up cutting this yesterday, and as you can see, I carved it quite nicely. It's tall. Actually, how tall is it? It is 50 centimetres tall, 50 centimetres. So that's cool, and I've also got a 10 by 10 square blue foam, slightly harder blue foam. So what I'm going to do, I left this overnight because I wasn't sure whether I was going to leave it this tall or not, but I am going to leave it this tall because I think it's going to look awesome, particularly when it's on the model railway. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to stick the actual falls to the base, and I'm going to let that dry. I'm going to use gator glue again. It is very strong. Hopefully it's not blocked. It's not blocked. I managed to clean that nicely. Good. And I've also got some toothpicks which I'm going to use to strengthen it. So what I'll do is I will put some gator glue on the bottom, which you can't see because I'm doing it slightly out of shot. There we are. So a little bit of gator glue on the bottom there, as you can see. And then I will set that on top of the blue base. And then with that on top and in place, I will push a couple of cocktail sticks through to hold it in place and give it that little bit more strength, like so. And then we can push down, and that will now nicely sit. And then I have some plates. Let me zoom out just for a second. There we are. So that's now nice, and what I have is some plates which I can set on top. Balance them carefully. There we are, and that will now hold it all in place. And it doesn't take long to dry, so in about 20 minutes or so I'll be able to take those plates off. So I'll let that go off, and then we'll think about the next step, which will probably be using some of Luke's modelling compound just to build up the contours at the bottom and solidify it all as it goes down, and then it'll be painting. It's hopefully not going to take very long to do this. The biggest challenge is going to be the sculpting, so I'll probably start that soon as well. I've made some progress on the design work for this diorama, which I'm very pleased about. What I've got is the road coming down here, which will have the Weybridge truck on it. We then have a gate, the turning that comes in to the cemetery, which comes along here to a turning circle with some car parking up there, and I'll have some cars parked. Potentially I'll put a Jaguar because my father loved those. The railing will go up the side here, and this will be contoured. It's not going to be flat, so it's going to be, the hill is going to come from the back down to the front, so that will go up the hill. And then rising up the hill over here is going to be the cemetery. Over there at the back will be a chapel, a memorial, and then next to it is a nice garden, and there's going to be trees at the back, and we will have the characters will be clustered in this little area here, so not quite central, just a little bit off to one side, but that's going to be the plan. So I'm going to again sit and stare at this. I'm taking my time on this. I don't feel like rushing it at all. I don't mind even if I miss the deadline for the challenge. I want to do this right. But at least I've got some plans now, and I'll work out what my next steps will be, and I'll bring you along when I get to those, whenever that is, but this may be a slow burner. So this dried fine. So what I'm going to do now is I've got my Luke's APS modelling compound, and I'm going to basically cover the whole of this miniature, including possibly the back, but I'm not sure about that just yet. But I certainly will do all of what you can see here, so round on here. So I've done this a lot on the channel, so I'm not going to film the whole thing. However, I will film a little bit of it and then I'll stop, because I do get very dirty hands as well while I'm doing it, and very messy, so it's really tough to operate the camera. So I will show you how to do this very quickly, and then I'll be back when it's finished to show you the next step. It's a very simple process. What we do is we take our water. I'll actually shift this back a little bit when I'm doing the mix on camera. I have these little reusable trays, which is what I use for mixing in all the time. And if you wonder why I've got two, it's because when I'm doing a lot, it dries in here eventually, because I do small batches, and that means that I can actually do 2 loads before I have to stop because I've run out of mixing containers. So what we'll then do is we then take some of the compound, and I've got a little beaker here, which is what I use, put that in there, and then add a little bit of water and mix it, and then a little bit more water and mix it until you're happy with the consistency. Bear in mind, obviously you can add water, but you can't remove it. So don't add too much, because then you'll have to add more modelling compound, and then you end up with a batch which is too big and will dry before you've finished applying it. So I'll mix it up. I just use my finger to do this, like so. And that's maybe a little bit sloppy even, maybe a little bit too much water, but it should be okay. Give me a little bit of working time, which isn't the worst thing in the world. So once you've got that mixed, you just slop it on. It's an agricultural method, but it works well. And what it will do is it will seal the polystyrene, because obviously it's not very rigid, this white polystyrene, but also gives a texture, and actually gives quite a nice rock texture. Now on most of my builds, when I'm doing rocks, I use bark, but I've decided against it on this one. I hope I don't live to regret that. I probably won't, but yes, I've decided against the bark. I'm just going to use the modelling compound and get a nice texture like that. So this will probably be 2 sessions at least, I think, because I'm doing it obviously on its side, and then I'm going to rotate it and do it on the other side when this side's done. So I will use this batch up and make some more until I've finished doing everything I can get to easily on here, let it go off, and then maybe tomorrow come and finish it, and I'll be back to this build when that's done, and I'm coming to painting and other textures, which is what's going to be next. So yeah, I really hope this is quite a quick build, because I've only got 2 weeks to do it in, and I have guests coming this weekend, so that's going to be some of my time gone. I now come to the next and a little bit of a fun part of this build. So what I need to do is I need to mark out on my water where I want to have each of the ships. And I want to have it so that they can slot in nicely and they can be inside the waves and what have you. And I have an idea of how I'm going to do this, and I don't know if it's going to work. So we shall find out. As we've established, on the bottom of each of these there is a little knock which goes into the base, and the base is too big. So what I'm going to do is a multi-stage process. I'm going to get some paint, and I happen to just have some of my raw umber, and I'm going to dot the paint onto the bottom of these little what's-its, whatever you want to call them, and I'll wash it off again when I'm done. And then I've got some cardboard here. This is some of the pedigree cardboard. And what I'll do is I will drop the ship, the boat, down and mark those 2 areas. That now tells me where I need to put a hole. So I will basically cut out. You are actually watching me do this for the first time, by the way. So I will cut out that area there, rather larger than I need it, which is a bit of a waste of cardboard, but I have quite a lot of this at the moment. And then I'll smudge it because I'm an idiot. Don't do that. So we'll do that again. A little bit of dab of glue of the paint on the bottom, and then press it down onto the cardboard like so. Okay. And then I'll wait for that to dry so I don't smudge it again, and then I'll bring you back for the next step, and I'll dot out the other 5 ships while I'm waiting for that one to dry. That's dry, so now for the next step, and that involves a bradawl. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to press through in the centre of each of these dots and do it so that I get as wide as the dot. There we are. So that's that done. And then what we can do is we'll come along with a little ship, and that should now sit and we may need to make the dots a bit wider, which I think we do, but that now will sit in there once we've made the dots wide enough. There we are. Come on. Yep, that now sits inside our little bit of cardboard. And so what we can now do is we can draw around the hull and then cut that out. So I'm going to do that, and then I'll bring you back to show what it looks like when it's finished. With the shape cut out, what I can now do is select where I want the flute to go. Let's say I wanted it to go there. And then what I'll be able to do is I'll be able to glue that down in place. I'm not going to glue it now because I actually want to paint these black, I think, so that when they're in there, they're a little bit more camouflaged. And then as I come to build up around it, I will have 6 shapes of these boats on here, or the ships on here, which I can keep clear of any kind of waves, and then I can build up the wake as well, and then when I come to put these in, I'll be able to slot them in place and pull them out very easily without causing me any kind of hassle. So that's how I'm going to do this. I'm going to carry on and get that done for all the other boats now, or the ships now, paint them up black and then stick them in place, and I'll bring you back for when I'm sticking them. I was a little undecided on the next step, but I've decided it is to paint this black. So I've got my terrain paint, which is what I'm going to use, just in this big bottle, and I'm going to slap black paint all over it. So I'll pop some music on and let you watch, or maybe stop filming or whatever. But yeah, black paint. Very excited. This evening I am not too tired to do a resin pour. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix up a relatively large batch, and I'm going to pour it in the area that I'm focused on now. And as you can see, suspended in a very Heath Robinson way by this strip of XPS and a cocktail stick stuck through and a little bit of blue tack is my mermaid. Now my plan is to pour the resin and then make sure I get enough just so that the bottom of her tail is covered so that she will be supported. Then remove her, get the heater in there and pop all the bubbles, and then pop her back in like she is now, and then leave her to dry overnight. And in that way, hopefully then I'll be able to take the cocktail stick out, remove all of the other accoutrements, and then she should stay there, and then I'll be able to pour up around her. So it's not going to be a huge pour, but it is going to be very, very exciting because this is the next step that I've been wanting to do for several evenings, and I've just been too battered really to do it. The rest of the table actually underneath the river, underneath the deep part of the lake, I'm relatively happy with. I've got a few more bits and pieces that I might add, so I'm not going to rush the pour. I'm just going to focus on this bit. I've got some skulls and bones and what have you that I might want to put in a few places, but and maybe a little bit more greenery, but I'm really, really happy with how it's looking. So anyway, I'm going to go and mix the resin now, and I will pop the camera on when I'm doing the pour. I probably won't talk, probably just speed it up and put some music, but then you'll be able to see the process, including the flames and what have you. So yeah, next time I'm here, I'll probably be running at about 1500 times normal speed or something like that. I've done multiple coats of black on this, and I'm happy with the coverage now. So what I'm going to do is I'm coming in with my dark grey paint, which I use quite a lot in my rock scheme, and it's going off a bit. I'm going to need to buy some more of this soon because this is starting to dry out in the pot. But I'm not trying to do a light an overbrush here. I'm actually looking to pretty much paint it on. I don't mind having some of the deeper recesses having still black, but it is a full coverage I'm going for here with the grey. So I won't bother running the camera the whole time because yeah, I'm painting grey on it, but I'll bring you along to show what it looks like when I'm happy with the coverage and I'm moving on to the next step. I'm not trying for a very dark rock here, which is why I'm going for such a deep coverage of this, because I'm going to bring this to very close to white and have all sorts of other colours and things going on in it. So yes, I will get this done and I'll bring you along when I'm happy with this coat and I'm about to put the next one on. I've mixed up another batch and I'm about to pour it. Very exciting. I think that now that I've got past this mermaid step, that I should be able to speed up my pouring. I'm hoping that I might be able to do one application a day, maybe even two, but as I get deeper, my pours will get bigger because, yeah, the surface area will increase and therefore the volume will increase. So let's get this mix in. This is about as large a batch as it's possible for me to produce in the size of the containers I have. There we are, that's deep enough there. I might be able to do another pour further over on the lake, but I'm gonna go mix it up. I might do, I might not, I'm not sure, I think I will. But I'll let that go off a little bit and then I'll come in with my flamer. Let me just show you how I go about doing that. So I have been doing this, so I'm getting a little bit more practice at this, which is good. So it's just short bursts and it pops all the bubbles really quickly. Don't need to do much. So if you're a little unsure how to go about this, this is how I'm doing it. Now the added complication I have is that I've got all this plastic stuff which is popping up out. And so I'm being very careful to not melt it, which is another reason why I'm going in such short bursts. Now the other thing to say is that in an hour or so I'll come back, and what I'll find that there's probably a lot of bubbles that have come to the surface that I can then do again. So you can't always get them all at once, I've found. Sometimes you have to come back in again. So there we are. That's done quite a lot of the bubbles. Let's leave that for now and I'll come back, as I said, about an hour and do a little bit more. I've decided that yes, I will do another pour. So let's get it done. Okay, so we're going to make some more progress on this now. What you can see is I have picked out 4 different house paints because this is what I use for my for my terrain. We've got like a creamy colour there, we've got more of a pinky colour here, we've got a very light browny beige there, and we've got bright white here. And what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to come along on this, which I've put some more time in since the last time I filmed. I've just done a light grey. As you can see, I've really brought the colour down to quite a bright colour now. And I'm going to come in with these and put some interest into it. And I'm thinking this is going to be the end of the painting, and then I'll be able to start doing the waterfall and the water at the top and greenery and what have you. And then hopefully very soon I'll be able to put in the actual guy walking across, which is a sculpting thing which I'm putting off a bit because I'm a bit nervous of doing it. But I'll get to that probably very soon because I need to start practicing, and I'll bring you along for that. I'm not going to run the camera for the whole of this process. I'll show you what it looks like at the end, but those are the 4 paints that I've got out at the moment. Time to do a little bit more on this. So I've made a little bit of progress since I last filmed. First of all, I remembered and dug out this road, which I'm going to use either just as a template or actually use it and put it on. It is from Hecky, and it is the Strassenfolie HO asphalt 1 metre. So it's 1 metre long of asphalt single track, or 2 track, single, one each way. So yeah, I've got 1 metre of that. I might have another pack, I think, somewhere, but that's going to be what I will do for the road. Secondly, I found a miniature which is actually from Joan of Arc, so it's 15mm, so it's very tiny. And I'm thinking and considering about using that on a statue, maybe in the centre of the island or something like that. What I'm going to do now, however, is I've got my Luke's modelling compound. I've just been staring at this for a little bit. I've got my modelling compound, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put in the very gentle kind of contours that I'm looking for. I'm going to take a picture of what I've got here so that I can remember what I've drawn, though of course I can always make it again. I've also gone and had a look to see how big the chapel is, and it will fit in that space. It's actually a bit narrower. That's on a truck on its way to me right now, hopefully. So yeah, I should get that soon. So I'm not going to run the camera, it's just going to be me with modelling compound. If you want to see that, then I've done that on a load of other videos, so watch more of my videos. I'll bring you back to show what it looks like when it is done, and yeah, but I'm pleased to be getting started on it. What I will quickly show you is the dimensions of this road. It's definitely going to fit nicely in where I blocked out. I'm probably going to do it at a slight angle like that. What I'm probably going to do for this bit is do it as a gravel car park, not as a tarmac car park. It will make it a little bit easier for me without lots and lots of these roads. I just want to make use of this because I've had it for a long time, since I first started thinking about model railway. And it will also look really nice, I think, as a contrast between the green, like a nice grey gravel, and then the black road that's going to look maybe a bit patched but relatively new. So anyway, I'm going to crack on with this now, and I'll bring you back at the end to show what it looks like. So that's taken me a fair while. I've been very careful and working it very, very smooth. As you can see, it's a smooth finish. I've run out of time in that my two mixing bowls are now too claggy to use, and that's my general timer for working with Luke's modelling compound. So I'm going to stop there and leave that all to go off. I think that I'm pretty happy with the height that I've achieved back here, and what I'll now be doing is just gently sloping it down to the level here, which is going to be the baseboard. And the road is going to be slightly lower, which is why I've left it a little bit there. There'll be a path next to the road. That's where this fence is going to go, like that. So yeah, and at the back there'll be trees. So I'm really, really pleased with that. It's going to be a slow process. I'm not going to rush it because it's really a passion project. This really important to me, but I'm pleased to have made a little bit of progress. I'll probably get a little bit more time on this tomorrow now. So I'll put the colours on, and I'm really pleased that's looking really nice. It's really interesting. It's got very peachy colours to it and a bit of white. I've not done the pure white. I'm going to do that as a highlight in a minute. I'm just going to do that over the top up here. I decided against putting white, and I might very lightly dry brush over all of it just to draw it together with either the white or with the light grey again, just to kind of tone it back a bit. But I'm really pleased with how that's looking now, and I think the next step, which is going to be dressing the top. So what that will involve is, if that's going to show properly, I think it is. Let me just check. Yeah, so what that's going to involve is I'm going to be putting the river here and a tree there, and then the tree stump here and the tree stump here, some grass, which I'll probably paint on. I probably won't use flock. And then I'll have the actual tightrope going across to those corners, and the little person here. And then when you look at it from the bottom, it'll look very high up. So that's the idea anyway. So I'm going to get on with that now. I'm going to do the little bit of a dry brush, and then I think I might glue some gravel and sand down where I want the water to go tonight. So I'll bring you back at the end of the evening anyway before I finish, just so you can see what I've done. But I'm thinking of putting maybe a little bit of touch of gravel and stones on there, so that when I do my water effect, which is just going to be clear silicone, then that'll look a little bit different to the rest of it. So I might do that as well. So I'll bring it back when it's finished, but I'm pleased with the progress so far. Time for a little bit of shaky cam, which I don't do very often, but I want to do in this case. So what I've done is I've put some gravel at the bottom there, and if we go up and up and up and up, then at the top you can see that I've put the gravel where I said I was going to, around where the river is, in there. But I've also stuck a tree leaning out over the edge. So if we go down below and look up, make you sick, you can see there it is, leaning out over the edge. So I think that would be quite cinematic. If you take a picture from down below, I think that would look quite awesome. So there we are, I'm pretty pleased with that. I'm going to let that to dry now, and I'll pick that up again in the morning. Oh, there you are. That was one of those that as I was editing it, it was getting longer and longer, and I was realising just quite how much I'd actually done, even though I felt like I hadn't done much. And that's another thing that these vlogs are really good for. They make me see just quite how much progress I make, even on a week where I feel like I didn't do very much. So I hope you enjoyed it. Please pop comments below. I do love to read them, and I always reply. So yeah, make yourself known below. That would be really, really cool. And I'm only 5 away, I've just checked, 5 away from 1,000. So if you know anyone that would like this channel, not just for the numbers, but anyone that would actually like it and enjoy the content, please send them over and tell them to let me know that you sent them. And yeah, it'll be awesome if I can get over the 1,000 in the next week, because this being vlog number 50 means I'm only a couple of weeks away now from being a year old as a channel, and it would be just wonderful to celebrate that with the community tab and with the 1,000 subscribers. But I'm not going to beg. It's only if you know someone that would be interested that doesn't yet subscribe, then yeah, send them over, it'd be awesome. Thank you for watching, and as always, please stay healthy, stay safe, and stay well.